Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Eye on Icon. This episode is a bit special, so we're kicking off our BTP series where we go around the Icon BTP connected ecosystems and get a bit of information of what's going on there, what are projects being built, what is their chain all about. And today I have with me Sasha. Sasha is an expert, should I say, or is very aware of everything going on in the NEAR ecosystem. And as we know, NEAR is one of our BTP integrations that is being worked on and going to be implemented soon. So while I thought I chased down a community member, I chased down someone who knew a lot about NEAR to bring all the latest and greatest of what's going on in their ecosystem. So enough about me rambling. Sasha, welcome to Eye on Icon. Thank you for being on the show. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. So, look, Sasha, let's get started. Tell us a bit about yourself. You know, who you are, how you got into crypto, how you got involved with NEAR. Like, give us some beef about you. So then we'll dive into everything about NEAR.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. So I live in South Bay Area, not too far from San Francisco. Originally, I'm from Belarus, so I actually came to US maybe like 14 years ago. At this point, worked in like finance, on technology, mergers and acquisitions, then worked in technology industry in like sales mostly. And that's where I met actually one of the co-founders of NEAR. So he was working with me, but on engineering side in a company called MemSQL. Now it's actually renamed. It's called Single Store, but it's actually a database company that built sharded databases. And so it turns out that when NEAR was starting actually in August of 2018, scalability of Ethereum was kind of like very much on people's mind, and scalability through sharding ended up being like very relevant. And so since the team that at least I worked on in MemSQL was focused on building sharded databases, ended up kind of like big focus for NEAR early days. And so for me, when I joined NEAR, which was pretty much from the beginning, we had this particular 3 days when the team kind of went from 3 to 9 people. At the time, I was the only one person talking to the market. So I was talking to a lot of founders, which early days when we were just building the product was just understanding what do we need even for people to build. And that actually changed our strategy quite a bit, actually, because I was talking to a lot of game studios in the blockchain space, and I was telling them we're building scalability solution. And at the time, at least when the Ethereum gas prices were really low, people were telling me like, we actually don't care about scalability. And I was like, wait, like we are building scalable solution. Like I thought that's what the market needs. And they're like, no, actually, like we need to bring mass market. We want to get gamers into the gaming space. And so for that, we're losing a lot of them on onboarding with like MetaMask and things like that. How you handle transactions is a big challenge. Onboarding is a big challenge. Account model is a big challenge. And so we actually completely rethought how like onboarding into crypto is done. In our case, in NEAR ecosystem, it's done with Web2 Wallet. And we also approach transactions differently, also approach account model differently. And that came from pretty much talking to the market at the time in 2019. And then for majority of this time, 2019, 2020, we were building blockchain. We launched roughly a year ago into the mainnet. It took maybe 2.5 years total to launch. Sharded. It was just one shard into mainnet. And then I actually moved into also starting accelerator last year for NEAR. It's called Open Web Collective. That was part of the realization that in order to win a lot of developers and founders in the space, you kind of need to help on the business side. Not only its technology side, not only, like you can be building a better blockchain by a couple dimensions, but that's not enough given how early we are. There is no playbook either in a space. You kind of need to help a lot more projects when it comes to launching into mainnet fast, when it comes to getting adoption, when it comes to how to get fundraising, when it comes to token economics, when it comes to legal advice. And so I was focusing on that side quite a bit, started Open Web Collective. Right now it's in a third batch of it. And this year, actually, quite a bit of NEAR started to do organizational decentralization. So our spin-off was the very first spin-off. It's called Human Guild. We have a website called humanguild.io. And we were the first spin-out out of NEAR, but there are quite a few others. There's Proximity, there is Aurora, there is Open Web Collective, the incubator I started, there is Satori. So there are quite a few spin-outs happening from the Near team, and each one of them is focused on a particular area in ecosystem. In our case, we're pretty much a community of builders and founders and creators. We focus on amount of earners in Near ecosystem, how many people actually get paid in Near across different applications, and the context for how you get paid is actually very different per application. For example, if it's AMM, then people like liquidity providers could be the ones who get paid, right? If it's NFT marketplace, that's creators who get paid. If it's a game developer building something, it could be game developer himself, could be a gamer actually maybe contributing to a particular level within the game who gets paid. And so we kind of like monitor all of the earners across the Near ecosystem, across all of the applications, because we believe this is the kind of like fastest way to build actual economy on top of the protocol. And now in practice, what it means for us is to get developer support help quite a bit, like launching applications faster into mainnet, but also helping with usage after. So like it could be product improvement suggestions, could be particular verticals to go after. So for example, we are working closely with NFT marketplace out of Indonesia, built on Near, called Paras, and they have been so far successful in digital cards, kind of like niche they found in the NFT marketplaces space, but they're also going right now into like comics, like web comics section next, and so we're kind of like working with them on that.
Cool. So you kind of Human Guild is kind of usually we see, especially in DeFi, a ragtag bunch of devs. They come together and they create this awesome platform and stuff, and then it's the same circle of people kind of utilizing it. But what your kind of Human Guild is trying to do is going, you know what? You've created this and we want to take it a step further. We want to try and connect the dots of how do you expand it to the broader audience, and at the same time making sure there's always that cash flow incentive for wherever you find the dots and people you need to connect, whereas, you know, to expand the markets and making sure the devs and creators are getting money is flowing back to them to enable them. So it's kind of putting all the pieces together, and that's what the Human Guild kind of focuses on.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would say like you can look at crypto ecosystem as like almost like sequential couple different waves. So you can like there was a DeFi. So first of all, like let's take a step back. Like let's look at what happened on Ethereum. I would say the process of finding use cases is like this multi-year process. It actually takes quite a bit of time. People naturally try many different things. Like for Ethereum, maybe 2,000, maybe 3,000 projects were incubated in the last 5 years, and different like hackathons like ETH Global and many other places. And quite a few of them didn't work. It was like a process of just like trying many different things. DeFi was the one that was the first one that actually hit like the mainstream. It's started in 2019, probably a big chunk of it, but really hit the kind of product market fit last summertime with the liquidity mining incentives that projects like Compound and Balancer started, and that like really took off in terms of like TVL, at least like the metric that's important in DeFi context. And then you saw like NFT projects similarly with them. They were kind of like where they are for a while, but like also kind of like didn't have that much usage. I remember I was talking to OpenSea and to X Infinity middle of 2019, and it was very early days. Like nobody had like any usage, so to speak. They were kind of like monitoring a couple different like whales they had in their spreadsheet pretty much. Now, fast forward to today, like January of this year, we saw this huge spike in that market. And of course, we can also talk about NFTs. Like it's to the extent it is hype cycle, but to the extent it's also, and I can explain what I mean by this, but also to the extent it's generational trend in which creators can actually get paid directly and build audience directly without having to be represented by like gallery in art context or music label in the music context and that kind of stuff. Then we started seeing like new kind of wave with DAOs more recently. That's even like younger wave. But the thing is that for Near, for example, Near is strong in particular other things, and use cases built on Near natively. What Near is strong in haven't even started. I feel like it's another kind of process similar to Ethereum. Will take many years of people coming to hackathons, trying many different things, kind of things that actually work. People kind of start copying and kind of like building on top of, versus a lot of other things kind of like not work and kind of like not explored as widely. So I feel like it's kind of like multi-year, kind of like long process actually.
Yeah. So earlier you were mentioning, and I wanted to pick your brain on it. You said Near's solution was implementing a Web2 style wallet. Could you expand what did you mean by that? And keep in mind, I haven't sat there and explored the Near ecosystem apart from doing research on some of the DApps, but I haven't set up my wallet or things like that, which I'm excited to do soon. But yeah, could you expand? I'm quite curious what you meant by that.
Mhm. So what happened when we were talking to game studios at the time in 2000, early 2019? What I noticed is that in Ethereum ecosystem, a lot of games that I was talking to, such as like Crypto Heroes in Japan and Lucid Site in LA, many others, were trying to put Web2 wallet, kind of like in Ethereum ecosystem. The example of that is like Burner Wallet
Mm.
that people built. Ahead of MetaMask, and so they were specifically kind of losing people on onboarding with MetaMask. And I was hearing like some crazy numbers with onboarding, such as like 199 people out of 200 would drop off if
Mm.
they were like essentially like if you bring my mom and tell her like, hey, like set up the Chrome extension for the wallet. And that's not the only thing. Obviously, you also need to get crypto somewhere. That's
Mm.
also
Mm.
part of
Fees.
the challenge there. But this particular piece of onboarding into like kind of Chrome extension, like browser extension, like wallet, we decided, given what we heard, to actually go different route, and so we built web wallet solution instead. And so web wallet is the one that's kind of like more similar. It works kind of like Facebook login or something. It's non-custodial wallet, and it's a wallet where you basically a lot more familiar for like end users, for like people who are used to like web. And
Yeah.
so that so far has worked out pretty well for us. We like recently, just like last week, I think crossed like 1 million accounts.
Oh wow.
So that's
So
actually like pretty
so
much.
is it basically signing in via an email essentially? So
Yeah.
is that yeah? So it's okay.
You
Okay.
you can pick different like recovery options there. So you can do recovery through the text message. That one
Yeah.
is, from my perspective, a bit annoying because then you deal with like 2FA, which is
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
not super reliable.
Yeah.
Or email. In this case, you actually don't need to approve every single transaction. Another way to do it would be with Ledger, with like hardware, like
Yeah.
Ledger, or with like seed phrase, which is like people would reserve for the accounts where there's a lot of money there.
Mm.
So it really depends. Like if you have like play money account,
Mm.
you would go with like email or text. And if you need some more security, then you would go for some other options like seed phrase. Um,
Yeah.
and then we also have MetaMask-like solution in your ecosystem. It's called NAR wallets. Somebody in ecosystem built it,
Yeah.
but I haven't used myself it yet.
Okay. Okay, so from what you've been telling me, Near's focus when as being as a blockchain was really trying to capture the gaming aspect. Is that a fair assessment? The gaming aspect of the market?
I would say like right now, given that kind of like it feels, at least to me internally, well, not internally, but like by being in your ecosystem from the beginning, it feels like the ecosystem is growing like exponentially. I cannot keep up
Yeah.
with things. We have newsletter now, which is like I'm actually like pointing everybody to, just called nearweek.com,
Yeah.
where people just there's aggregation of news there, which I'm myself like trying to keep up to. And so I feel like right now what we're going through is that we're starting to form into small units that focus on particular areas. So
Yeah.
in case of Human Guild, we focus on gaming in virtual worlds, but then we do have people focus on DeFi natively on Near,
Mm-hmm.
such as a proximity spinoff. We also have people focusing on DeFi on EVM, more like you can just take your Ethereum contracts and like without having to rewrite,
Yeah.
just copy. That's Aurora. So that's their website is aurora.dev. For proximity, I think their website is proximity.dev. So they focus on different pieces of DeFi, such as native DeFi for proximity and more like EVM like DeFi, and also the bridges is
Yeah.
part of the solution for Aurora. And then we also have others focusing, like for example, like NFT marketplaces, like Satori is focusing on this. That's
Yeah.
another spin-off. And I'm sure like I'm missing some others. And
Mm.
and by the way, there'll be like others that don't exist yet. I feel
Mm.
like, for example, like incubating like social graph related protocols or niche web applications, more like going into more like web direction, more like consumer
Yeah.
applications, is I think another big direction where like Near will play to its strengths actually.
Cool. Okay, so I want to touch on the DeFi side of stuff as well, but I think I want to come back to the human guild because obviously you're very involved in that, and I love the idea. I'm a gamer myself, so I'd love you to expand. Do you have some call outs you would like to make around the gaming ecosystem that you're involved in, and some like truly revolutionary stuff you're seeing happening on the near chain, especially that's integrating blockchain, making blockchain gaming, integrating that component in a seamless way. I'm keen to hear some insights on that and what Near has.
Yeah. that's definitely something I can like talk forever about. But the interesting thing there, like what I'm observing, what's super interesting is that there are people who like deciding to build games in a very different way. So first of all, you can look at gaming space as just like use cases. Okay, like in Web2 space, there was its own evolution where people, like built games for PCs first, and internet happened, and people were still paying for like multiplayer games. Then you had like free to play with like mobile, and then social first on mobile. Now you're kind of moving to this like play to earn is becoming a big kind of term in the crypto space with like Axie success, and that's also important in a way because gaming startups in crypto specifically like completely struggled throughout 2019 2020 with being able to, for example, like raise funding. The big difference between games and let's say DeFi protocols is that for DeFi you can launch it over the weekend. You can just like take a particular piece of code from GitHub and launch, let's say, community launch. We saw a lot of it last year. And essentially like a lot easier from the perspective of time you need, the team you need, and that kind of stuff. For gaming, it's different in that you need cross-functional team, usually multiple years, even if it's like simple game. And so I feel like very few projects actually were able to get to actual launch from 2019 and 2020 cohort. But the interesting one that launched was Axie. Obviously, what I'm seeing, what's interesting from our ecosystem to call out is people who building together with community. Actually, if you build things in very incremental fashion, that's I think very powerful way to build games. So basically what I'm referring to here is actually launching Discord before you even have anything. And we saw it successfully launched even on Ethereum with like Loot project, where you saw kind of like a lot of attention going to something that didn't have anything beyond like first idea pretty much. And we saw it recently with Dragoneer on near the Dragon game that just accumulated quite a bit of people in their Telegram group, which is now like forming into a team of its own that's taken over and kind of running with it. But another interesting project I want to call out is it's called Shroom Kingdom. It's one solid developer out of Germany is building this platformer. You can think of it as like similar as like Mario Maker. And the interesting thing about it, well, twofold. When it comes to use case itself, I think a lot of blockchain games will help creators to get paid. So in case of Mario Maker, there is a game that has kind of like two modes. One is you play the levels, and one is you create levels. And so the promise of blockchain is a promise of not only unleashing creativity, but actually getting creators to get paid. And so this editing levels, creating levels becomes like very important. And that's specifically what this particular platformer is focusing on, called Shroom Kingdom. But also from the how he develops it, the most interesting thing is this particular thing of launching with a community and incremental fashion. So what he specifically did is he already had Discord because he built a couple games before. So he has a couple thousand people kind of following his progress to begin with. And now he's essentially telling to his community, hey, like I'm actually building Web3 game. And he's starting to teach them crypto, and they have no idea about crypto, his community. And so he started teaching them, he launched this FAQ for DAOs. He's explaining like, I need to have a DAO. I realized nobody knows here in my Discord server what DAO is. So like I want to like educate you on this. Not only this, he's saying like, actually, by the way, DAO is looking for you to help me. Like I'm actually building the actual game, but like I need a lot of other things, such as like Discord moderators, such as helping with creating content. And actually DAO is hiring right now, and the game doesn't exist. Like almost nothing exists today, and it's kind of like interesting to see like people actually applying, even like engineers applying when nothing exists. So like I'm very excited about those kinds of things where like people build it with a community.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, is there currently any game that is out in the Neo ecosystem that is, something if an Iconist was venturing into, the Neo ecosystem, what would you tell them to go and play right away?
So there is only one game that's live fully, and it's a very simple one. It's called Chain Typing. It's just chaintyping.com. It's a typing game, and people actually like can improve speed and efficiency and get paid for it. So it's a very simple play to earn game. And we're going to have 6 to 8 games launching until end of this year. But I feel like knowing engineering timelines, it's 2 or 3. But we'll see which ones will end up. The interesting one that is kind of like bigger game is called Hashrush. Their website is hashrush.com. They will be available early on just PC. and then by the end of this year, they're both going to launch the play to earn model, as well as launch the Mac platform. So it will be available for Mac as well, which I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
I don't have PC, unfortunately. And that one is interesting because it's more complex game. It's actual RTS, so it's a kind of mix between Dota, simpler gameplay, but more like also StarCraft 2, kind of more complex strategy game.
Yeah.
And people behind it, they're like very passionate about strategy games and kind of like return of this genre, because they played strategy games when they were kids. Like I actually played some strategy games also when I was kind of like much younger, and that one will be super exciting. But that one was also like 4 years in the making, pretty much. Like I feel like it was quite challenging, I think, to go through the kind of like point in time in the market when no games existed, and as a result, a lot of investors were also like very skeptical.
Yeah.
Usually, the conversation would be like, "Well, like I want to kind of see live gamers. Like once you launch, I would like to consider to be investing." And for the game developer, it's like very challenging because they're like, "Well, I need 2 years of development."
Yeah.
Launch.
So in this particular game you were talking about, how what is it? So I guess the blockchain gaming is more about essentially giving the creators power to get paid, but also the gamers who game and spend time doing, they basically own that asset and then can sell aspects of it in the open market and profit from it. So in this instance, how that style of game, are they going to be like, weapons that are a form of NFTs that can be resold, etc.? Is that how this platform will work, the game will work?
Yeah, exactly. So the whole economy is on chain, and the creator of this game is very passionate about the play to earn aspect. He was kind of like evangelizing play to earn for like 4 years. The idea is that people actually can actually get paid for playing the game, and so that's pretty much like token economics. They were also working on this for years now.
Yeah.
And I would say token economics also like very different game by game. Depending on the genre, it could be very different. In case of Shroom Kingdom, the way kind of he thinks about economy is that there are like very simple kind of actions that can either lead to minting of their token or burning of the token. And so he's trying to essentially like encourage people to do positive actions, such as create a new level for the platformer and things like that. So I would say like token economics like really vary by the game, but for earlier stage games, I think the most important piece is to tie economy and economic ownership back to the community.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, actually, it'll be looking forward to seeing that game. That those kind of games have huge followings, and if they nail that, the biggest component, the challenge that everyone's faced is that onboarding process. If it's almost seamless, and then users can kind of go, well, the time you spend, you can then sell and make money from this play to earn. Yeah, you nail it. It's looking quite good. I'm actually going to explore it post this recording. I'm keen to get a bit more info on that. Awesome. Okay, so that's gaming. We've focused on gaming. Now let's shift to DeFi. And I know gaming is your subject matter expert, but I've noticed quite a lot of DeFi kicking off in the NEAR ecosystem, and I see that consistently post with TVL and different aspects. I think, could you talk through a few of your highlight DeFi apps that either you have used or you know of that you want to kind of shine a bit of light to? I know our community has just started in Icon. We've gotten 2 major DeFi apps launch, and the Icon community is now just loving every aspect of it. Minting a stable coin, earning interest, all that kind of stuff. So keen to see what opportunities exist in NEAR, because soon, when we have that integration, we'll be able to move those assets on each other's chains and start, doing more things with them. So what have we got on NEAR?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when it comes to DeFi NEAR, I would say like number one is fairly early days. We have a couple applications that launched. So one of them is called Rough Finance.
Yeah.
That one is pretty much like automated market maker, the first one on NEAR. And quite a few people are actually starting to get paid there for providing liquidity. So the kind of the farm launched recently there. I know that there is a website called Sodaki, SODAKI.com, just 6 letters, Sodaki.com, where there is like TVL information about a Rough Finance ecosystem. So that one is super interesting. Another like DeFi project I'm super excited about is actually opportunity for projects to raise money on chain directly. So crowdfunding directly on chain. We have two different projects there. Nearpad. I'm a little bit less familiar with this one, but I know that they're doing the first sale there as of recently. And then there's Skyward. Their website is app.skyward.finance. Skyward is spelled as SKYWARD. And so that one actually allows projects to raise funding directly from Near ecosystem. So in fact, people actually exchange their Near holdings in exchange for the token of the particular project. They've done 4 different sales so far. So the first one they did, they actually dog-footed it. They sold their own token on their own platform as the first one. That was Skyward sale. The second one was actually Refinance. They did the sale on Skyward. And the third one is Octopus. Octopus is a project in Asia that is focused on app chains. So they're actually building kind of like app chains on Near with the use of Substrate and Near. And they've been working in Substrate and Polkadot ecosystem for like a long time, from what I understand. And the last fundraise that happened on Skyward was actually Paras. That's one of the NFT marketplaces out of Indonesia. Paras is focusing on digital cards as their kind of like niche in NFT marketplaces. They're going into webcomics next, actually in gaming too after this, and they also did the sale on Skyward. So that's another like really interesting like representative example of DeFi ecosystem. I know Proximity team is actually starting to work on like lending protocol. So they gonna be launching the first lending protocol. And I do think there are a couple different stablecoins natively to Near being built, but I actually didn't talk to them as of recently. So I know that we do have stablecoins, mostly from Ethereum, available through the bridge, through the Rainbow bridge available today. But we do have in the works native stablecoin implementations. I just was not in touch with them. Another DeFi projects to mention is Metapool. So Metapool is really interesting one. It's from South America, actually. What's super exciting about Metapool, from my perspective, not the project, not technical implementation of the project perspective, but like the exciting part is that the team, the founders actually met in Near ecosystem. It's like the first instance when I actually saw founders actually meeting. One of them is in Argentina, one of them is in Mexico City, and they actually met in Near ecosystem, which is amazing now because I'm constantly trying to figure out how to actually connect talent to each other.
Yeah.
And it's very hard. And so Metapool is doing liquid staking. So they provide opportunity for people to use their staked Near in different kinds of use cases. So it could be like, for example, you provide liquidity in ref finance with your staked Near would be example of that. And so they have staked Near token that they want to actually also to use it to replace W Near, which is also used in the context of like bridge Near from
that's wrapped
from other places.
Is that wrapped Near? That yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is
so,
sorry, go ahead.
I think that's it. Probably those would be a good list to mention.
I'm actually very interested. I want to talk about this a bit more because to give context. Okay, so Near is a proof of stake asset currently. So to secure the chain, you stake. Do you happen to know what kind of rewards do stakers get for?
Yep, let me actually look it up right now. I believe it's in the range of 10%. So there's a website, near-staking.com.
Yep.
That's where I'm actually looking it up right now. It's close to 11% annually.
Ah, cool. So pretty much on par with Icon. So okay, that's interesting. So and this protocol, because obviously when you stake it, how long does it take to unstake the asset traditionally?
I think it's like 3 epochs, if I recall correctly. So it's between 1 and 2 days, I think. Roughly.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay, so but the goal of these platforms where they say liquid is essentially you stake, you get the rewards, but you can move your staked asset around and utilize it in different protocols.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. So this is interesting because I probably, just as you spoke, I see this being something BTP enables, because all of a sudden we could move, these 2 proof of stake assets, which is ICX's proof of stake and Near, across each chain and utilize them in DeFi protocols and still not give up your yield component that you earn from these assets. So it's great to hear that there is a protocol that specifically focuses on this. So I'm guessing one of the goals of it would be to expand it's proof of stake assets, it's liquid assets essentially. So it's not just near, it's other assets start getting added to it.
Yep, definitely, definitely. And yeah, they're just getting started pretty much. They also look at all of the amount of near staked, which is like at maybe like 40% of all of the near today. And so they kind of like also look at this as inefficiency in the system. They want to have this one available in other places. And as you mentioned, being able to just like earn yield while actually being able to use it in many places.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a catch-22, right? Do I stake or chase yield? Where sometimes that yield can be 40 to 80% versus the staking rewards. And agree. It's a good one. Okay, cool. Is there any look? I actually wanted to. You mentioned this early on. So it sounds like in the Neo ecosystem, once it got founded, the founders as such, they all split off and set up their own, like, you got your component of Human Guild, and then you mentioned Aurora, which focuses on enabling EVM applications. And I get that. So, and this is what Icon's trying to do with the sister chain, but essentially it is to enable the devs that are building and their vast library, at a click of a button, they can migrate their code onto another chain. So, but Nia has it doesn't sound like Nia has a foundation that looks over it all. It sounds like Foundation has split itself up into segments to go, okay, these are your subject matter experts. Now go explore it and create and build out of that. Have I got that right? Or
so Near also has foundation. So Near itself is roughly 150 or so people right now. Near scaled a lot last year. That one is actually split. I actually don't know the exact split in terms of amount of people, but it's split between Inc and Foundation. So Inc is based in Delaware, and but the development team was initially in San Francisco. When we had an office, we kind of gave it up during COVID. Now it's everywhere. The Foundation is actually based in Switzerland, and so both Foundation and Inc are hiring quite a bit, and they operate quite independently. And then you have pretty much like a lot of guilds that we started. Like last year, a lot of guilds were starting from within Near ecosystem, maybe like 30, 40 started from outside of Near. And then you also have the spin-off situation where like a lot of Near team, core team members from early days, they're spinning off their own entities. So we have Inc, we have Foundation, we also have quite a bit of different new entities being started.
Yep. Okay, cool. So one thing we touched on, and just in conversation, and we won't get too technical with it, but Nia already has just launched a bridge recently, right? Which is, I believe, called Rainbow Bridge. And this particular bridge is a one-way, as in back and forth to Ethereum, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So is this particular bridge, like, is that how it's designed, just to be with Ethereum, or could it be expanded to other chains? Do you know much about the bridge aspect?
Yeah, so I believe that it could be generalized over time. Right now, it only works with Ethereum, but I actually don't know the kind of like the product roadmap for the Aurora, because Aurora, the guys who do EVM, they also have Bridge as one of their products right now, and so like they're responsible for it, and I have no idea like how they think about like generalizing the technology over time.
But I mean, the first one that they have nailed the Rainbow Bridge to is Ethereum, and that's kind of the best one, right? Like that's where all the liquidity sits, and that's the one you want to connect to kind of grow your ecosystem. So it's good to see. Cool. Okay, I think that's really good. That's given me, it should give the entire community a good overview of everything being built on the Neo ecosystem. Is there any closing words, anything you want to finish off or highlight with, stuff that you've noticed, or things that are to come in the Neo ecosystem that you can't wait and is going to blow everyone away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one thing we haven't touched on just yet is just like general NFT marketplaces aspect. So we have quite a few of them. We have one called Pluminite, we have one called Mintbase, we have one called Paras. Paras is based out of Indonesia. That's a team focusing on digital collectibles. Mintbase, and it's curated one. Mintbase is based in Portugal, and they're focusing on general purpose artists. So it's not curated; anybody can join. They're like really focused on decentralization. So it's less of a platform where a lot of people put their NFTs. It's more of a storefront where people can just like spin out their own storefront. So that's super interesting. Pluminite, and Pluminite is just pluminite.com. I think of Pluminite as kind of like Instagram, where instead of photos, people put their NFTs. So it's like really user-friendly like application. And then Another thing I wanted to mention outside of NFT space is that we have quite a bit of traction also on DAO things. So we have more than 200 DAOs right now.
Oh, is it? Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and so like what's interesting about the communities in your ecosystem, which started as guilds, then spin-outs are also quite a few of them are guilds. Majority of the guilds actually productize kind of like back end of their operations through DAO. So they do voting, they actually kind of put resources together to fund different initiatives. So for example, we have DAO for like Russian developer community, we have DAO for like creatives overall, we have DAO for like virtual worlds.
Yeah.
We have Human Guild has DAO, for example, and all of this are powered by kind of like the same DAO framework called Sputnik. Now I think it's actually been rebranded into Astra. I think Sputnik is a bit too Russian sounding, but that one is like really high on human activity. It has like at least 200 people. So like what I personally want is for people to build more different like social or like web applications on Near. I think Near is very strong in like how account model was done and access keys were done. And so we haven't yet seen those like killer apps just yet because unfortunately people don't know about this. And so like the kind of like the natural process of getting to those use cases will take like many hackathons, many years probably. It's like it's quite a bit of like I'm realizing just like right now how long process it is, like process of like actually getting the kind of new innovation into the space where like nobody knows where to get the information. There's like so much going on. Decentralized ecosystems naturally struggling a bit with communication, how communication gets propagated,
Well, that's probably what I pick up on with DAOs. Like, it's keeping it coordinated, and especially when it starts to grow bigger. I'm quite interested in getting your take. So if that's a lot of DAOs the ecosystem has, is do the DAOs have a bit of a framework they use to kick off their tokens and things like that? Or a lot of the DAOs they kick off without they don't worry about the tokenomics of the DAO and just people get together and start working? How does that work in
So DAOs today use Near token, but I'm not sure. And so they like naturally just they pull together their Near tokens, they give away Near tokens for particular initiatives. So in case of Human Guild, we have a DAO which gives money for creators, whoever is in increasing amount of earners. So to the extent that people kind of work in our kind of like bucket of activities that we think kind of make sense, then we would fund it, and it would be funded in Near tokens pretty much.
Yeah, and where so when you say funded in Near tokens, do you go for a grant via the foundation to give the DAO treasury a little bit of funding so that they can start executing on the work? How does that initial base of funds come to the DAO? Or is it just users who go, yep, to join the DAO you give 5 Near, for example? How does that exactly work? I'm personally curious. That's why I'm putting you on the spot.
No, yeah, that's super interesting. I think there are two main sources. I see there are smaller DAOs where people kind of put money together, and then there are also DAOs where Near Foundation give grants to different DAOs too. So it's like I would say it's both, I would say it's probably like split 50-50 even. Okay. Like I haven't done the like full like analysis on each DAO.
Yeah, but okay, those are the methods that I used. Okay, cool, good to hear. So is there since we're talking DAO front and the Human Guild is a DAO, is there any other big DAOs in Near? So, for example, the biggest DAO I know, apart from the protocols on Icon, which are balanced, and Ohm, that are DeFi applications, but also DAOs, because the goal is the governance token, and people then vote, etc. But Bankless on Ethereum, I don't know if you know Ryan Shawn and David Hoffman. That's probably one of the big DAOs that I follow and see them making progress and evolving after just doing a token dump to everyone and then people coming together. Is there any other big DAOs or highlights you want to call out in the Near ecosystem?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now. There's a website called stats.sputnik.fund. And so, like, for example, like Human Guild DAO looks like is actually the biggest one so far. But there are also other ones. There's Kikimora.Sputnik DAO that Near has like close to 50,000 Near. There is Creatives DAO. That's one is a pretty big one. It has close to 40,000 Near. There's Community Squad DAO and it has like 31,000 Near, looks like. There is Grants DAO. It has like 18,000 year. There's China DAO. It's probably related to Chinese community. Has like 20,000 year.
Mm.
And there's like NFT Bounties DAO. There is Open Sandbox DAO. That one I actually had a call with them on Monday. I meant to like really learn what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then there's Russian Community DAO, Assembly Script DAO is probably propagating assembly script as a language. There's also Marketing Vertical DAO. There's Sports Space DAO. I'm seeing there's Near Hispana DAO. So it feels like there are like all kinds of like either vertical, so geographical communities,
Yeah.
or something else.
Yeah, okay, that's really cool. That's a big takeaway. I think every Iconist listening in, definitely if you're exploring DAOs or what it's showing me in your protocol is the DAOs haven't come about from a DApp, a DeFi DApp or something launching. A lot of these DAOs have just formed for the particular subject of what service they want to provide. People have come together, and it's in your example that you gave earlier, isn't it? Where even the game Shroom, he wanted to form the DAO and use the community and then build rather than creating and then making it a DAO to move forward with decisions. So it's kind of a reverse model, flipping it and going, yep, from ground up we'll build out via the community and how we push forward. That's a big takeaway from me today in our catch up. It's something I think it's been the opposite in the Icon ecosystem. So it's great to see it on a flip side, and what possibilities it leads to. That's really cool. Cool. Okay. Anything else, Sasha? While we're chatting, I think you've been on a roll, man. You've been on a roll, remembering quite a lot.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. I think we covered a bit of DeFi, a bit of NFTs, a bit of gaming. I guess last thing I forgot to mention is the virtual worlds. So we have one of the virtual worlds that already went live, but it's still kind of like a bit struggling with the scalability of it. Like when 20, 30 people are there, we have still a bit audio partitioning issues, not everybody hearing everybody, but it has audio chat in it, and it's 2D DAO. So it's not DAO, 2D world. It's called Near Lens. That one is live. We're also incubating quite a bit of kind of like more complex ones. There's just kind of like decentralized Minecraft in the making, and there are a couple others as well. But the 2D one is already live. We actually kind of moved our hangouts, our own community Human Guild hangouts. We used to do them every week in Crypto Voxels. That one was also interesting because I'll say like some interesting story on this, but also like how also we got to start hanging out on Fridays in the virtual world. We were just like me and Vlad, who started Human Guild. We were just complete noobs at building communities, and we get people to participate in our Discord. But we did notice that quite a few people that we personally invited in were just kind of lurkers and not participating. And so we started asking them, and across the board, they were just saying like, "Well, I just don't know anybody. So like I know you guys, and like I don't know like what to say because I just don't know anybody else. And I'm like backend engineer. I'm not by default communicating with people that much. Like not everyone, but like a lot of people are. And so we realized like shit. Like obviously we know all these people, but they actually don't know each other. And so like natural step was like, well, let's start hanging out in virtual world every Friday, and that was like really, really helpful for like our community. That's like very basic thing, but like not us being noobs on this. We covered that, but it was very interesting that Crypto Voxels seems like Crypto Voxels itself is such a like interesting representation of like physical world. Actually, it's like the kind of activity that's happening in the virtual world is very similar to like real estate happening in the real world. So what happened is we have our friend. She also works in one of the near investors actually. But she had a space in Crypto Voxels, and she told us that she can just get us to use her space and like kind of rebuild it in our own headquarters for free. And I was asking like why, what's the reason there? And she said like she got bullied actually by people around her. So people were building out their own spaces in Crypto Voxels, and seeing kind of her space was the only one that was not built up. Nothing was happening in her parcel. People set up like spam email going to her every single day. Forcing her to sell it.
So these are, just for context, these are like virtual worlds, isn't it? So you enter this virtual world and you have this space and you can deck it out. So in the space you could have like banners of your products and stuff. So people come in, they can hang out and just start asking questions. So it's kind of a VR world of real world.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And there are
cool.
like And those, just for the audience, there are people who kind of like focus on a browser. There are ones that focus on the browser, and they're like really kind of actually attract web developers who are like interested in browser experiences. And then there are people who focus on VR, and they're all about like VR is a future. I kind of like I have browser version because I just need more users, and not everybody has VR. But really, I really want to get to a place where everybody has VR. And so like the example of the VR one is called Somnium Space. The example of a browser one is called Decentraland or CryptoVoxels. And then in our world, it's Neuralens, but that one is even simpler. It's 2D.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, look, our chat has definitely told me one thing that, Nia has been exploring. It's not a niche for one aspect for gaming. It can do everything, but it's definitely focused on gaming in the sense where it's made sure that focused on that onboarding process. So the biggest challenge, as you've always said, is, we're losing users. Yeah, blockchain gaming, it enables this, but if we can't get users to move to the next phase of registration, it's kind of all pointless. And I'll always draw back comparison. This is something similar to what Icon's doing with DeFi, and what they've done is built this bridge integration where you don't need your traditional wallet. It's just to sign in with an email. And it's just like, and they've enabled that kind of stuff for our DeFi products, particularly a money market, OHM. And it is essentially what Nia has focused on from the gaming space. And it sounds like they've nailed it. And now in the background, all this creation has been happening with the games actually being built out. And we should see it in the next 6 months. These big games that you've spoken through this podcast will start getting released and automatically... well, that's how adoption happens, right? If players come to it, the Nia token starts getting used in different aspects because that's what's used to power things. I've learned a ton. My Nia knowledge before this podcast was just this much, where I was just trying to rush up to understand, so I knew kind of what you would talk to me about. But after our conversation, I know so much more about it, and I've been fascinated about the DAO concept. I'm actually going to pick your brain post this podcast a little bit more about the DAO component. It's definitely got me intrigued. But Sasha, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know I've been chasing you. We've been back and forth for a while, so it's great that this has finally happened. I was a little bit nervous today, worried, I hope because of my lack of knowledge of Nia, our conversation flowed, and it's been brilliant. Love it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I think it was amazing to have this conversation.
Great. And Sasha, one day we may have to do one reverse, introduce the Nia community to the Icon ecosystem, and especially when BTP is close to launching, all the possibilities it enables for Nia as well on our side off the chain.
That's right. Let's do it. Yeah, I actually have a podcast, so it's perfect way to do it.
Love it. Look, Sasha, again, thank you for coming on the show. We'll chat soon.
All right.
Take care.
You. Bye.